Welcome to my October energy update. I'm so excited because we are at the most fun time of the year. And what I mean by fun, you guys, is we are at the most sacred time of the year. We call this spooky season, right? This is actually sacred season. That's what the energy brings out. We've got massive astrology this month. I'm going to get into that in a moment. And of course, you guys, save some questions for the end. We're going to get into it. We've got so much to discuss. The biggest theme this month is transmuting fear. So you can imagine how important this is, especially the type of year we are in. I'll drill that home in a minute, but we're also introducing, along with a powerful crystal of the month, that is the highest energetic protection you'll need. We've got an animal totem for the month. And just so you know, I had 5 planned and I cut it down to 1. So bringing in animal totems is going to be a big part of these sessions moving forward. And it's a big part of shamanism, connecting with power animals and also the different cycles of power. So sometimes nighttime or morning, depending on what you see. So it's going to be exciting. I recognize so many of you in the chat right now. I just want to say a big hello and welcome. And I want to say this as I was getting ready. I just get in the zone, and I felt this immense wave of love, and I was like, oh my goodness, my heart feels this, and I just want to pour that into this energy update. And I'm sensing I was just tapping into you guys. So thank you for joining us. And I want to begin once again with getting into the biggest theme, which is transmuting fear. Watch through this update. We're going to get into the heart of it midway through. But what I want to say with this is like the crystal of the month, the animal totem, it's all going to connect and enhance it in a very important way. So when I talk about transmuting fear, we're going to talk about collective fear. We're going to talk about fear in relationships. I'm going to break down some of the astrology for you guys too, so that will make a little bit more sense. But one of the biggest things that we're going to talk about too, and what October represents, is reconnection with the natural world. That's a big theme, along with ritual. Okay, so think about your personal rituals that you bring into your everyday life, along with knowing this is a sacred time of the year. So when we talk about Halloween, which of course originates from Samhain, and then Day of the Dead, this is a month where we're really going to get into our rituals and discuss how important that is for us. But also our personal rituals, our everyday things, the things you do in the morning, right? The things you do before bed. Look how sacred every single thing you do is. That's very important this month, right? So think about the power of creating sacred rituals for yourself. In September, we discussed the big theme of new cycles and really honoring what new cycle you're interested in. And so that is also what this is about. And what I want to go into as well is to point out, we had our autumn equinox last week. And remember, this is a time still, we're going to talk about it honestly through December, about going within and releasing the old energy of the year. So if you guys see me smiling, it's because I'm recognizing you guys, and I'm so happy that I'm just very grateful for this community. So I'm excited for your questions at the end of this too. So I want to talk a moment about rebirth, which is a massive theme. The fear that we are transmuting goes into this sacred rebirth. Now, last year, think about where you were last October, because this is very important. A lot of us sense collectively that last October was the time for rebirth, but actually it's finally happening now. The process started last year in October. Basically, life shook us up to give us the raw materials, that fuel, right, that we needed, right? But now we finally see it happening. So, really, who noticed this kind of begin those last 2 weeks of September? You may already sense a lot of subconscious themes were being processed. That was a massive theme in September. A big theme in October is commitment to our inner work process, especially shadow work, especially when we talk about Scorpio season beginning on the 22nd. So let's already begin with, we're going to pay very close attention to our sacred rituals. We're going to talk about ancestral altars that people like to make towards the end of the month. But I want you guys to kind of be aware of how you start off your day. Do you start off in gratitude? What energy do you charge your days with? That's going to be very important. I just want to point out, My friend Irma's comment here about being from the Bat Caves right now, saying hello of Lake Erie. Let's let's think about bats for a minute. We're going to get to that in a minute. Massive important energy there, especially those of you on the shamanic path. So we're going to talk about that towards the end. So let's get back and refocus now. Your ritual. When I talk about this too, I'm very passionate about coffee. A lot of you know this. That moment of silence to myself where I am grinding the beans, where I am infusing love into my day, when I'm getting ready and having that time for myself before I start healing sessions. So I'll have my quiet time in the morning, most sacred time of the day for me. I really intend we want to have a nice day, but really, I'm in that space of openness and receptivity and flow for whatever the universe wants to bring me. So get really clear about how you like to start your day, how you like to end your day, especially towards the end of the evening. We're going to talk about the pineal gland when we talk about the crystal of the month. If you're falling asleep with like the TV blaring, and I've been, very much guilty of this before, when I'm having a night. But you know what that's doing, right? That's stressing out your third eye. So we want to start having morning rituals, evening rituals that are very supportive of our energy body. Crystal of the month. I know I tease it a lot. We're going to get to it soon. That's going to support that. So another big thing I want to point out, last October, my energy update. So in my energy updates, as you guys know, we cover big themes. This is just really important. Yes, I bring in astrology, but sometimes these themes are just tailored to what that energy of the month will bring up. So if you talk about energy vampires, that's, pretty fitting for October, spooky season, right? We're going to get into that for a moment, but we want to look at it differently. Last year, if you see that energy update, or even the year before, where I break down what shadow work really is, I talk about look out for energy vampires, look out for energy siphoning, right? Well, that was a massive theme last year. But this month, I want to draw your attention to the subtle ways of energy siphoning. This is very important. You really want to be now, not out of fear, but we really want to be aware and protective of our energy, because November astrology, actually November numerology, let's say that as well, they connect, is so potent and powerful. And it has so much to do with divine purpose. You really want to feel energized once we get into November. So you want to kind of look at like the subtle siphoning that can happen in life. So it can come in the form of people projecting their shadow onto you, right? People who maybe don't do the inner work that you do. And you can sense that, we can sense those projections, right? Notice any sort of like psychological needs or pull that they are creating just to feed something within them, because they can't generate it themselves, right? And so they need to resource from you. Look around just in your awareness. Maybe you think about this before you go to bed. Like, where is my energy being resourced? Where do I feel maybe some of that lacking? And maybe where am I giving too much? Just pull your energy back, refocus somewhere else. Because like I said, we do need this for magical November, big numerology month. We've got 1111, we've got 1122. And that time frame in between is extremely just potent and perfect for manifestation energy, especially if you are trying to manifest big breakthroughs moving forward, whether it's health, whether it's in relationships. Okay, we're going to cultivate a lot of this sacred, powerful, and beautiful energy now. So that's kind of a overview. Let's get into some important dates. Okay, October 2nd, solar eclipse and new moon in Libra. Okay, that's very, very exciting. This is going to support new beginnings in relationships. This energy is going to support the new cycles in your life that you are creating. In September, we talked a lot about creating these cycles. This is just going to go even further. And October is actually going to be super supportive for harmonious relationships. So if there's some, relationship struggles that you've worked through the year, well, this is actually a good time to jump in and have good communication with either friends, business colleagues, significant others, you name it. The energy organically in October is going to support that. And what we know is we are going to be cutting off a lot of energy siphoning. So that freed up life force is going to go to cultivating those relationships that are so important to you now. So as long as the communication is solid and you have, similar passions and creative pursuits. Well, that's going to get you very far in October. This is a good time for fostering career relationships and connections. So, moving things forward in that avenue, it's a good time for collaboration. You can work through any of the, little bumps we get when we're working with people, right, on different projects. This is about, really being forward thinking this month, focus, creating stability in relationships, being good collaborators with people around you. But just know the energy of October will help you move those things around. And that actually is going to kick off with that solar eclipse. So think about the type of new cycles you want to create, and also know that those sacred rituals I mentioned earlier, it's gonna all go to that. See, what's funny with the crystal of the month, with the animal totem, and with these themes is just receiving this information from my higher self and doing my best to present it in an organized way. But these tie together so perfectly, and I never really see it till I'm actually presenting that. So keep an eye on that. Now, next big date on October 3rd, it's October 3rd. Happy Mean Girls Day for those who celebrate. Had to say it. So, those of you who appreciate that, there you go. Everyone else, don't worry about it. Just know on October 3rd, it's October 3rd. With that said, let's look at October 4th. Venus in Scorpio, trine Saturn in Pisces. Yeah, that's a big one. Deeper emotional connections, deeper relationships, deeper fostering that. If you have, well, where your Venus is very significant. Mine is in Scorpio, so I'm very excited to see what's going to be coming up personally, but collectively, because these are collective messages that I'm tapping into in these energy updates, you're going to have some transformation in existing relationships. Okay. So whether it's transformation for the better, meaning it deepens, that's great. But if there's some sort of disconnect, it's purposeful. All transformation is purposeful and important. It's really like where you have attachment and what you want to see shift. But this is about emotional connections. So long distance friendships, long distance relationships, they will feel more supported after the 4th. So a lot of stuff already going on this first week of October. I really want you to kind of see how you feel as soon as the week goes on. And then, kind of see, okay, am I going to tailor my rituals? Am I going to bring in something else for me? I can't help but notice that comment about you're going to be spicy this transit. Well, of course, Irma. Anyway, yeah, spicy times ahead of us. Very exciting. October does bring in a lot of passion, and we can thank Scorpio for that always. But also, when we talk about what's sacred, well, chi, passion, energy, excitement for life, creating things that you've been trying to birth for a while, all of that is passionate and sacred and important. And that's what the month really does represent. So, very exciting times, you guys. Hopefully, very spicy times. So, with that said, let's jump to October 17th. I want to talk about the Aries full moon, really focus on your personal goals. So, when we talk about transmuting fear, and maybe those of you who have been in fear of launching certain projects or being seen, oh, this is the perfect month for that. So, purpose, creative projects, really moving in to embodying that leadership, confidence, action of Aries. We want to move things into action, right? So think of the fire of Aries, tap into Aries energy. Go with assertive Aries, not aggressive Aries. There's a difference. I'm just gonna leave it at that. We love you, Aries. I love Aries. I do. So with that, with that said, now, what's on October 22nd? Well, we've got Scorpio season, which is always exciting, deeper transformation. So you see what we're already talking about? Now we're 22 days, magical number 22, 22 days into October. Relationships are shifting. New cycles are coming forward. There is more of a fire in the air. That fire is going to be used to transmute. So when I do healing sessions, so my quantum sphere healing sessions specifically, when I am clearing something, some sort of negative energy, I re-imprint it with positive intention. In my sessions, I guide the client through an exercise to use fire to transmute and send that energy into the quantum sphere, into your personal universe, into the infinite. Fire is a big theme. I know we're going to be towards the end of the month. We are in water, but this is very, very important to think about because transmutation, transformation, getting on the other side of fear. Well, tap into the fire of Aries to help you do that. That's going to be a big thing. Now, when we talk about shadow work on the 22nd, have that intention of, working through those, those deep subconscious fears that we're all here to really shift, right? And then come on the other side of that, embodying our power. So basically, this process of shadow work, we know it's difficult. We know looking at our deepest wounds can be really scary, but you are going to be more energetically supportive now, all the way up until the end of December when Chiron is out of retrograde. So I mentioned this before. I'll give you a few more details on that, but essentially, you're so supported to go fully into whatever you want this month. Okay. What we do now in October, the shadow work, our rituals, the sacred things that we are honoring, that's going to catapult us into Sag season on November 22nd. And of course, like I said, big numerology day. And you'll be supported for that next month as well. So let's do a jump to October 31st. Halloween, of course, derived from Samhain. Samhain begins that evening on the 31st, going into November 1st. And then, of course, we've got Dia de los Muertos, the 1st to the 2nd. Honor your rituals, honor your ancestors, your culture. I, as a Syrian woman, I'm not going to misappropriate or explain anyone's culture. So I'm not going to go into massive detail. If you are drawn into any of these and there's so many more other really important ancient and cultural things happening in October. So if you're interested, go deeply into this. But also know, I say this before, our multidimensional nature and self, that's our birthright. Shamanism is also our birthright. So in all our cultures, they come from shamanism, they come from mysticism. Okay. So whatever you practice to honor this time of the year, your ancestors, really go deeply into it because it's this sort of like reverence we have for the divine really shines through, but also we're closing out the year, we're starting the new. So you can kind of I'm going to go into details on a few things because I think it's going to be really helpful. But like I said, get excited this year and put all that potent creator energy into those specific rituals and what you like to practice. But also remember, we're always creating our own. So whatever you want to do on those days to honor it, go for it. So what's very significant, as we know, with the sorry, I'm seeing some of these awesome comments here. I can't wait to you guys' questions at the end. It's going to be awesome. But what's really great too, as we know, is when we talk about Halloween, originating, of course, from Samhain, we know that this is the period of the veil being extremely thin between worlds, right? So this is where spirits are most likely to appear. In, of course, Celtic tradition, this is when we're most likely to have more interactions with fairies. They have easier access to our realm, which is pretty cool. This is the boundary of the realms softening. And that's why I'm talking about this in this update, right? So, the ancient Celts made Samhain actually about energetic protection. And that's what the crystal of the month is. There were so many, spirits and all these encounters that it actually is a time for cleansing. Okay. So they would do the protective bonfire as protection from any negative energies, right? And any of these spirits. And so, along those same lines, you may want to work in on Halloween or any of those dates. A smudging ritual, clear out your space. This is the perfect time. So whether you sage, Palo Santo, whatever you like to do, this is the perfect time to do it. So Samhain is associated too as being like the witch's new year. So think about this: you're clearing out that old energy, making room for what's new here. And that is a big theme about fall. We talked about the autumn equinox last month. So we're clearing house, we're preparing for winter, we are preparing for a new year. So with that said too, with energy protection, jack-o'-lanterns, what were they for? Well, those were actually for warding off the evil spirits, the card faces and the lantern, to have that energy, send them away. So much of, as we know, what we celebrate today as Halloween, as fun as it is, guys, I'm all about it. Look what's behind me. I've got pumpkin, which side? Sorry, the camera. I've got my crystal skulls and my ghosts and my pumpkins here, but sorry, I got distracted for a second. I got one of those just went out. Sorry, I had a light back there. Anyways, you guys know I love all that fun stuff, but really, let's get into it. It's about sacred season. So, the smudging, all that good stuff, bring it forward here. And now, modern pagans did make Samhain more about the ancestral connection. So, ancestral altars are a beautiful thing to do. Smudging your home, like I said, that's going to be the big one. This is the best time. So, starting Halloween up until the second for divination, you're probably going to get the best tarot readings of your life during that time, right? Meaning they're going to be very clear. So, best could be subjective. So, if you're asking about your ex, I don't know, I can't help you with that. But I mean, best means objective. Getting flustered talking about the tarot. I'm going to be pulling some cards that weekend. But anyway, it's a time for divination and, of course, meditation, right? Really, October, especially that last weekend, we are just respecting the forces of life and death. That's what we are honoring. Of course, too, a Day of the Dead, seeing the ancestral altars and that reverence for our ancestors and those we've lost. It's a beautiful thing. So I really, wish you guys so much fun and excitement. With this time of the year and with all the little rituals that you'll be doing. What we want to remember and focus on is this time of the year, we are embracing just the balance of the endings and the beginnings, right? We're going to reflect on the past, but we are going to prepare for the future. It's essentially what we do in these updates. And this time of the year, it's about remembrance, but also what is it about? It's about renewal. The energy behind everything is gratitude. We're grateful for the ancestors. Well, we are grateful for how far we've come. And when we do the shadow work this month, when we do anything, when we enter a new cycle, and when we let go of the old, we're doing it with an energy of gratitude. Okay. So I know so many of you are familiar with my core essence exercise. It's the best ritual to start off your day with gratitude. Maybe you want to close out the night with that. Either way, infuse your rituals with that. It's going to gratitude is one of the most powerful forces. I use it to enter the quantum field. So I don't think I need to explain to this group how important gratitude is, but keep that in the back of your mind here too. So let's get a sip of our tea before we continue. Come for the energy updates, stay for my mug collection. Am I right? So, like I said, you guys, October, perfect month for relationships. For some reason, it's going to be a good time for Leo and Sag. Not being biased, this is what I've tuned into. So great. Let's see. Let's have that going. But clarity and harmony for all people. Just let your heart guide you with this, with anything that you do in life. Bring that same energy. Sometimes harmony is going to mean deepening a connection or maybe pulling energy back and making space for that harmony, being okay with just how things are, peace in your heart, sending love to people you can't connect with anymore, those well wishes, and do what you need to always to heal yourself and create that harmony within you. And we don't overthink it. We're just going to come from a very open, beautiful flow space. And all of this is going to tie in now to our bigger theme of transmuting fear. We don't want to hold on to fearful relationships or hold on to something. Remember, I'm talking about all relationships here. Hold on to something because we're in the fawn response. So we're holding on out of fear of letting go, fear of what will happen. And maybe we go into some people pleasing because we don't know how to get past something. We don't want fear to come in and create that disharmony in those relationships. Okay. So I mentioned how a year ago we talked about cutting off the energy vampires. So just kind of step back now, since we're still talking about relationships. Who's in your life right now? Who made the cut? Who saw themselves out? Just kind of take a moment to honor this. I know this isn't easy. It can hurt to think about stuff like this, but now we rebuild. And what else do we cultivate? Our relationships this month. We cultivate the ones that don't siphon us. We cultivate the ones that bring us more harmony and love. And we tie it all together. Okay. We're going to do it always from love, and we're going to transmute fear around it. Now, what I really want to get into now, so we're about halfway through, is the most important theme this month, which is transmuting fear. We talked about the astrology. We talked about our rituals. So this first, we've this first week of October. I got excited. Take a breath, begin October 1st in gratitude. Take some time at some point to really see, and ask yourself, what is just the fear? What's a personal fear I want to overcome? Okay. Just think about it. What's the fear I want to overcome? And, discern, well, what's a collective fear that's being pushed on me right now? Because what did I say in my January update, which is evergreen? Please rewatch it if you want some tools on even more fear transmutation. But I said, obviously what's happening, we are in an election year. And so what happens? Well, the system feeds off your fear and your powerlessness. Okay. That's what happens, right? That loosh legitimizes the system. It legitimizes, it feeds the matrix. The matrix is made and runs out of fear to keep us powerless and to keep us trapped, right? So, first of all, well, what do? Well, we don't want to feed it. So, when you're working through this, really see what's a personal fear I'm working through right now. What did I incarnate to shift and heal? Or am I having these news stations really implant these fears in me to make me anxious and nervous and take me off my path of sovereignty and empowerment. Really think about those things. We don't want to feed it. We want to focus on our lessons from Chiron in retrograde, meaning what are those core wounds that we're healing? We don't want to lose sight of that. It's really important to look at that right now. So if that's what we're focusing on, we want to make sure we're not just focusing on what we're told we have to be afraid about, That's a big one. Let's see some of these comments here. These are great. Yes, beautiful. And so another big thing here too is maybe some of those fears and those Chiron wounds are related to what's going on in the matrix. Maybe you've given your power away over the last 20 years to certain institutions. Maybe you've just fed that, and maybe that's what you're overcoming, is not to be in that space. So if that's the case, that's what you look at. The big point, you guys, is that we need to transmute the fears that are keeping us from our new cycles and rebirth. Okay? Breathe. Let's think about that. I'm going to repeat that. We need to transmute the fears keeping us from our new cycles and our rebirth. Okay? That's why I said to take a breath right now. Really feel into that. That's what you want to focus on this month. Shadow work is going to help, right? And this is now the time to think about, okay, what's the fear I want to work on? So, is it a fear? Okay, maybe it's a fear of my things coming undone when I'm talking. Got really excited and everything's going out the window. Is it a fear of being seen? Maybe you want to work on that. Maybe it's a fear of being vulnerable. Maybe it's the witch wound. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Sarah the Alchemist. She just released a video on the witch wound. That's one of my personal favorite videos. And I want to highlight that for you guys because the biggest thing that comes up in my healing sessions is witch wound. Whether you're a male client, female client, I do past life regressions in my work, and I'm clearing out those past lives of persecution. I'm clearing out doom imprints, oppression, where the throat center is shut down. That massively comes through. And so October just so happens to be, yes, October, I know it's perfect, the perfect time to look at the witch wound, to address it, to transmute those fears. This is one of those videos I'm just going to keep sending to my clients to help make even more sense of how important and powerful this is to overcome. So if that's the wound you want to focus on, opportune time to do it. And then the magic, the transmutation of how powerful you are, how intuitive you are, use that to manifest on 11/11. Use it for our big November astrology coming up. Use it for the winter solstice in December. Perfect time for this. So also, if you've got a fear of boundaries, speaking your truth, this is the time to look at all these things. I've been reflecting on this for myself. September is when I kind of started really jumping into it. And so for me, I was thinking about a fear of just feeling like I've lived like an unfulfilled life. Am I doing all the things that I want to do? And I feel fulfilled in a lot of areas, but I know that there's so much more I want to create, so many more ways I want to express and be seen. So that's something I'm doing. So I've pulled a lot of energy back to go, Focus this on creative projects right now. Focus it on those pursuits. So, if you've got a fear of, not living up to your potential, that's a big one for so many of us. It's actually also related to the witch wound. The witch wound informs so much of how we present ourselves, how we act. It's a massive area. I really want to highlight to check this out if you haven't checked that out. So, with that said, October energy is going to push this along for us. Pick a fear, and really be intentional just with what you want to work on, how you want to proceed with this. And, when you work through this in October, like you pick your one, you're going to really work hard on this. You're going to have a roadmap for any other fears you need to address, because what you're going to see is that you looked at something really scary that you were avoiding. Maybe it's a trauma, maybe it's some pattern, and what you did is you survived it. Now you can handle anything else, because you can. Maybe those of us with the witch wound think we'll be overtaken or persecuted again in another form, in another energy, if we go after what we want. So really work with this. Transmuting fear, like we said, new cycles, attention to ritual. We're going to honor so much that comes forward in our hearts this month. We're going to create more harmonious relationships. We know that's coming up. And I am going to build on something with transmuting fear, more so in the realm of psychic and energetic protection, which will bring us right now to the crystal of the month. Are you guys ready for it? I think you are. Black tourmaline. Let's have a moment for black tourmaline. Now, this one is encased in quartz, very important for something I'm going to share, but have a minute to bond with this piece of black tourmaline. Is anyone surprised that black tourmaline is the crystal of the month? Yeah. So here's one piece. This is my favorite piece. I got this from a gem show many, many years ago. And then we've got a little piece. You might find more like this. What I love about this one is it's got tiniest little sliver of quartz. Isn't it adorable? Funny I'm calling it adorable. It's one of the most powerful crystals a person can work with. I'm wearing smoky quartz. I've got my tourmaline. Tourmaline goes well with smoky quartz. Smoky quartz also is great for energetic protection. But when we think of tourmaline, think of the highest level of psychic protection, okay? Protection from negative energy, protection from EMFs. I can go on for hours about EMFs. I actually, early on in my spiritual journey, purchased tourmaline for more so EMF protection. So what do you want to do with this? You want to keep it by your laptop. You want to keep it by your nightstand, any source of electronics. This is what you want to grid with. So if you want a shorthand form of someone, you guys are crystal experts now, with each video. Black tourmaline, no more bad vibes, no more radiation. You know where we encounter the most radiation? It's on airplanes. So when I fly, I actually wear this tourmaline. It's literally falling apart. It's one of my favorite things with Tibetan quartz. The tourmaline will help you for the going through the x-rays, but the airplanes themselves, loaded with radiation, of course, where we're flying. I see a comment about it not being shungite. I was going to bring shungite into the mix, but shungite is so special. It gets its own video. And I will say this, I do have one of my videos from like over 2 years ago or something. It is like tips for your spiritual journey and awakening. And I have a whole section on EMF protection. So check that out. You want your shungite for your 5G protection. But that also, in that video, we talk about tourmaline and we talk about orgonite energy and how much that can protect you. So tourmaline, we're going to focus on for a reason. So this is going to, even like when we're having like really negative thoughts about ourselves, this black tourmaline is going to transmute your negative thoughts about yourself. It's going to get you out of your head. It's going to get you out of a funk here. Black tourmaline is the most effective blocker of curses, of psychic attack, of anyone wishing ill on you, okay? Not only does it have that level, then we talk about every form of electronic protection, like we mentioned with the negative energies, with radiation, but then Historically, black tourmaline is the talisman against black magic. That's what it protects over. It increases your vitality. It cleans out the auric field, the auric body. It's also supportive for your emotional state. So this is going to support all the energy centers. It is known to support Capricorn specifically. I don't know why that's funny. I'm just going to, I don't know. If you guys are in a funk or something, you need to calm down, just have some black tourmaline. I'm going to sip of my tea. Everyone needs black tourmaline. Wear it in your pocket. Wear it as jewelry to protect your etheric body in sleep. If you have a lot of weird astral encounters, you could put it in your pillowcase. That's what it's also used for. So a few more things. This is, I want to draw attention now. Let me focus for a second on why it protects people from spells. That's what it's actually known for. So it protects people against any sort of direct negative spells or psychic attacks, but also like it is very special in Native American culture for that reason too. But this is, a stone associated with scrying as well. Now, let's take a moment to focus on this piece with the quartz. It's very common to find black tourmaline in quartz. Like I said, this is one of my most beloved pieces. So why do you want it in quartz? Well, it's not only going to transmute, clear, destroy that spell energy, but what happens is when you have this with quartz, because of the function of quartz, it energizes, it gives power back to what they say, like the victim, right? Or it will increase your well-being. So someone's sending you negative energy and you've got tourmaline in quartz, you're going to get more energy, more power from those psychic attacks. So people can try and be negative and send you that energy. This gets transmuted, purified to that clear energy. Now you receive more energy, more clean chi, more positive energy. Your well-being will increase. That's why this is the crystal of the month. How cool is that? We love you, Shungite, but that is a very important thing that I want to put out there, okay? So, like I said, it's traditionally used for scrying, and when people wanted to find out the culprit of who was sending the negative energy, well, they use the black tourmaline. So, historically, just so powerful. It kind of allows you, in another sense, to see the sender of that energy. So, if you're already very intuitive, or you get the psychic downloads, just kind of see what increases. So what I mean by this is we talked about what we're going to be doing in October in terms of cutting off energetic siphoning. Well, this might, give you a clue of to maybe the source of that. So we'll see about that. Just take it very serious. This is a very serious crystal. Because of what it does, you got to cleanse it often. So some people say every 2 weeks. If you've got a lot of electronics around you, you work from a computer, you might need to clear it as soon as you sense it's picking up too much energy. I've been told you don't want to clear this in the sun. You want to do it under running water. This feels pretty fragile to me. I'm not going to lie. I do clear it in selenite. This one has been in the sun though, just happened. It was on my windowsill, but of course, you can smudge these too. You can sage them, Palo Santo them. Just do it pretty often, okay? Especially because you don't want all that to kind of back charge. Like you need this very clean. So with that said, it's for grounding and shielding. That's very important. I mentioned it balances all your energy centers, all your meridians. It's good for the intellect, It's known as a mental healer. So it's going to balance left and right side of the brain. It's going to help with stressful thoughts, anxiety, nervous energy. It'll take those negative thought patterns. So just like it will transmute negative energy, the negative thoughts get transmuted into positive thoughts. Who doesn't want that? I think we could all really use it. But you know what? Tourmaline, I'm getting comfortable now, you guys. I'm getting excited. This helps us understand ourselves. It also takes that light that it's pulling in, purifies the negative energy, turns it into light. So like I said, that goes to higher consciousness. That's what it's for. It's to empower that. It's to really bring the energy of source forward when we're transmuting whatever the opposite of source energy would be like. So pretty cool stuff. This helps us understand our inner being. Keep it with you. You'll maybe understand what some of those fears are. So that's where this will show up. I'm told it also attracts just more inspiration. You might not think of that, but if you think about, well, if I'm not having negative energy thrown at me, if I'm feeling positive, well, yeah, you know, I'm gonna have a little bit more inspiration in my life. It's also associated with prosperity, which a lot of people don't really think about with a stone like this. Maybe we think more malachite, but this is good for prosperity. Well, doesn't it just make sense if it's transmuting any form of negative energy around us? It's gonna bring in the positive energy, more chi and life force. I do recommend using it as, like, if you get a tourmaline wand, which is pretty easy to find. That's good for cleansing the aura, energetic blockages. If you're someone who knows where those blockages tend to be, it's mostly the throat, solar plexus, right? You can guide that energy out, disperse that negative energy. And people say it does like help with problem solving. Like this wand can kind of literally help point you, so to speak, in a new direction. So there's it's funny because like I said, you guys, I don't know how these things are going to really tie together until I'm actually giving the update. And I want to get into the totem, and we have perfect time for that. And your questions. But I do want to say this: wear it around your neck too. If you have a piece that kind of falls over your heart, that's always a good thing for that kind of heart protection. This piece that I like to wear at the airport, the Tibetan quartz goes to the crown, so it's going to amplify the with quartz. It's going to amplify the protective qualities of the black tourmaline. However, now you have everything amplified because Tibetan quartz, which was my January crystal of the month, just is like one of the highest, most important amplification, purification crystals. So if you find that combo, go for it. Wear it as a necklace. And, a few more things with this too. You keep it at the source of your electromagnetics. Now, I do have a bunch of shungite pyramids that surround my internet router. It's pretty intense. I pretty much have an army of tiny selenites that go across my TV. That's how I like to kind of ward off that energy. I would say tourmaline and selenite by the nightstand's all you need for kind of etheric protection there too. It's great for gridding. And it's said that some of like the best pieces of this, what's great, it comes from all over the world. Like Maine, USA has a lot of it. Pakistan, Brazil, Africa. It's pretty exciting. Think of your tourmaline as an etheric, just vacuum. It's gonna vacuum all that stuff when you're out in the ether. So whether it's astral travel, meditation work that you do, it's just going to do so much for you. And then it's that high level of purification. So, to elevate your consciousness. So, let me just say, I never in these updates tell you guys for a reason to consume them just for like legal reasons. Sorry, the part of me that went to law school is always going to say that. If you have someone you go to that you get homeopathics from and they give you tourmaline, it's probably for your detox pathways. That's how people use it. So that's very, very significant. Now, tourmaline can cause a healing crisis in somebody. So if you're using this physically too, if you're putting it like all over your body, not consuming it, Quantum Sphere Healer said don't eat it or drink it. Let your naturopath do that. If your detox pathways are blocked, it might like have a crisis because like you need to sweat. It's going to make you sweat. It draws heat out of the body. That's why it's used. It draws inflammation out of the body too. But you can hold it in your hand for that physical detoxification. People also kind of have it like they'll tape a stone to the bottom of their feet to also help with those pathways as well. So, like I said, you guys, more exciting stuff ahead with tourmaline. So, in order to keep my thoughts super organized with tourmaline, I made a note here on my little piece of paper that I wrote here up for channelers. Okay. I did not want to forget this. If you're a channeler, depending on the type of channeling you do, you might pull in some stuff. Wear this when you're channeling. Okay. This is to protect your field from energy attachments, entities, energetic debris. That's what you want to be aware of too. Another thing that you can do too is like I mentioned like putting it in your pillowcase. It's said that this will provide protection on like a lot of different etheric body layers, like you want your field clear. This is what you're going to sleep with. Now, you can enhance the energetic protection. So if you really need this for protection, you guys, pair it with obsidian, smoky quartz, amethyst, big one, and also with shungite. So amethyst is like the number one thing I'm going to recommend if you are an empath. Like you just need it. Okay. Now, I would now add to that, you're going to pair it with black tourmaline. So like I said, I've got tourmaline and smoky quartz. I'm still rocking the moonstone because that's a really special one too. But look into the combinations of crystals. It makes a huge difference here. So another thing with this too, I mentioned with negative thoughts, if you are working through some issues with self-worth, you want tourmaline for that. Another thing that you want to do here is, remember how I said it like absorbs like the heat too? Well, if you have, so that's from the physical body, right? So maybe you hold it in your hand. If you've got issues with just like emotional boundaries, it's said that you put a piece on the spine. So lay on your stomach and kind of keep it on the spine. It's going to help with that type of alignment as well. It's also connected to like, if you have seasonal affective disorder, it helps with the ancestral line with healing there. It's associated with the kidneys. If you're stuck in a rut, you just don't know how to get out of something, black tourmaline. It's also said to help people diagnosed with autism. It helps with clarity of thoughts and the expression. So it's just really supportive and grounding as well. It's also known to open the third eye. Very important. So we talked about, EMFs, what they do to the third eye. Well, so you're going to want this for that kind of support too. And what it does is it just absorbs divine light that now you have because it's cleared any sort of toxic energy. Now that gets to go into the pineal gland. That gets to go into your brain. That's why it's so important. And I mentioned the spine will help stimulate what we call like the kidney yang, so that or yang energy. So that's going to help with big emotional release, processing, not storing toxins in your body. That's why it's so important. This is what you want to take for traveling. I mentioned radiation in the airplane, but just for travels, we meet a lot of people. We get into Ubers, we take public transportation. We're just around a lot of stuff. So don't hold that energetic debris in your body if you don't need to. Okay, you can place on your third eye for about 2 to 3 minutes. Slow, let it take its time. It's potent. Let it do what it needs to do. I mentioned have it by your electronics already. And also remember that it's strong. So with that, you might get a reaction so if we're talking about toxins, what happens? Well, I mentioned the sweat pathways. Well, what about people? You might get a reaction from people when you're wearing it. It's not a scary or negative thing. So I don't know. I think you guys get how important this crystal is. I mentioned you can cleanse it with the running water. You can recharge it with quartz or amethyst. So I know we like to recharge our crystals in very different ways. I mentioned moonstone charges beautifully with amethyst, right? This is another one. What I love about this, which I did not know, did some research into the history of this crystal, and that it was actually used in the early days of acupuncture. How cool is that? So in the early days, the acupuncture needles were made from tourmaline. And if we think about that, like it, pulling out points of toxicity, of negative energy, and opening up those chi pathways, that's just fascinating. And another fun fact I learned about it is that there was a point in the world where like people weren't that interested. And then there was this 19th century empress in China who loved it so much, developed such a strong passion that she was getting just massive shipments from like Maine and from the States. And she would build these statues using the black tourmaline. And then it made people wild for tourmaline. And a lot of it came from California as well. And it was just shipped to China and made into these pieces. So just very cool. Something about tourmaline that really stood out to me. I loved this fun fact. Need a house made of it. David, who doesn't? Let's just start building our houses out of tourmaline. That would be really cool. The acupuncture thing I found absolutely fascinating. We focused on black tourmaline, but there's pink tourmaline, there's watermelon tourmaline. So it's got a lot of, all of it will have the element of third eye support and protection, but your ultimate protection obviously is going to be with the black tourmaline. So I hope you enjoy it. We got one more big thing to talk about. It's going to be our animal totem, and we're going to do some questions. So does anyone have a sense of what the spirit animal totem is for October? It's freaking bats. Yeah. Yes, I did quote a very trending sound because I love it. That little girl who said it's freaking bats. Yeah, she was right. Bats. Okay, I know it's October. I get it. It feels on the nose, but it so isn't. I've been wanting to talk about bats for a long time. Okay, bats were seen. Yeah, Bat Cave, Irma. Remember? And you know what? It is very Scorpio. You mentioned the Bat Cave, and I just wanted to squeal like a little child because I went, "How did she know? How did she know?" Bats in medieval times were seen as tiny dragons. They were mystical. People are like, oh, there are these like rodents. Bat medicine is so powerful. We have to talk about it. So, beginning with bats, why is it important? Well, you know what? Yeah, it's October, Halloween. You're going to see bat things everywhere. No, you know what? You're going to notice it more. And it's going to trigger in the subconscious the need for transformation, for initiation, specifically for shamanic initiation here. Okay. So, I love your comments. I love that you guys are excited about bats because you guys, bats are awesome. So, I mentioned cycle of powers. Obviously, it's nighttime. It's when, they come out. But, bats represent clairaudience. Very, very important. They also represent discernment. When you see a bat, it's a good sign that these are things you're really good at. People who have bats as their spirit animal see through the BS. Well, we want to see through the BS and be discerning this month when we're and first week of November, when I just mentioned all the collective fear and programming and matrix BS being thrown at us. Yeah, connect to bat energy to enhance that. So when a bat enters your life, it is a sign of a new cycle, and it is shamanic initiation. Really cool stuff. So it represents rebirth, coming out of the darkness. So really, bats aren't spooky at all. They're not. It represents facing your darkest fears, but it's the hope and the symbol that you can do it, that you can face your fears, that, you're not going to be overtaken by it. If you've seen a bat, like where you don't traditionally see a bat, that's pretty interesting. A friend of mine saw one in like his backyard, like the suburbs of California. It felt a little random. Very, very cool. In Babylonian times, it represented like the souls of the dead. China represents happiness and long life. In the Mayans, Mayan culture, initiation and rebirth. I mentioned dragon energy in medieval times. So that's already a lot of cool stuff with the bats. Okay. So we've got our little dragons here. Yes, with the perception, the echolocation, exactly. Very, very cool energy. So what I love about bat magic, bat power, is that it represents the traditional cycle. We talk about the shaman's death, the breaking down of the breaking down of the former self, right? Through tests, right? Through the tests and pressures of life, or whatever that shamanic initiation cycle is, right? So what that represents is facing our greatest fears. And then we know, okay, it is time for, something to die in some aspect of life, or to die to something, to surrender to something, right? In some point or aspect of your life that is no longer working for you, that is no longer a frequency or vibrational match. And because we release and we let that part die and we surrender, we now grow in vibration, in frequency. We've now reborn ourselves, rebirthed ourselves into that shamanic path of life. So that's truly what it represents. It's really cool. I see you guys on the chat going off about bats, so I want to take a look here. Yeah. Very fun fact. Thank you, Elizabeth. Bat poo is good for the soil. What can't they do, right? So a few more things. Remember, people fear change. They fear transition. So if a bat comes into your life, if it has flown into your life, or maybe you're seeing a lot of bat poo. Well, it's time to face your fears. Okay. So shorthand, you see a bat somewhere, say you're at a store and there's like some Halloween bat decor, you hone in on that. It's telling you it is time to face your fears on something. What's the theme of October? Transmuting fear. So, yes, facing our fear. You see what I meant by all this stuff coming together? I just had higher self tell me we're talking about fear, and we're going to talk about black tourmaline, and we're going to talk about bats, and then we're going to see how it comes together. Well, it's all transmutation, it's all ritual, it's all shamanic, it's all cycles of life and death and rebirth. It's all very Scorpio season, isn't it? Yes, that's why we love it. Scorpio, spicy season. So a few more things here. First of all, I'm glad that you're thrilled we're talking about bats. Thank you for that. I was going to talk about, I mentioned 4 other animal totems, but they're all so important. They're going to get their own time. And each totem actually has some sort of like big misconception about them. And that's why I think talking about bats is so important, because like initiation, it's a big thing with sovereignty, with leading ourselves, with going deeper into our spiritual practice. So you really want to think about this. I want to share a few more things here. Now, remember, when I said the bats mean we're going to look at our fears, we're going to transmute them, look out for change. Okay. You're being challenged right now. It's saying, I see bat energy. It's saying, I need to let go of something and I need to create the new. And change can be really, sorry, Librans want a swan. That's so funny. Change can be very scary for people. Okay. I love how the chat popped off when we talked about bats. Now I know I just need to talk about bats. We will meet separately to just talk about bat energy. I did a pretty good job though, not getting too much off track here. But I just want you to know that, like, okay, change is scary and we know it. How you process it. Okay, so bat comes into your life. You go, oh, I got to let go of something. I got to transmute something really, really intense. Well, you might feel like, hey, I saw a bat and then I feel like my life got worse. I feel like things were okay and it crumbled. That's the medicine. What's no longer serving you, it gets destroyed. You're going to have we're going to not say phoenix out of the ashes moment. We're going to have our bat emerging out of the ashes moment. It's not negative. It's only viewed as negative depending on how emotionally attached you were to the former self, to the former life. I'm going to share this with you guys. When I went through my spiritual awakening, I felt I was going to be a lawyer. Like, I felt like I was nailing it in the matrix. I was 22 when I started law school. I was matrixing it up. It was hard to look at the world and see that it wasn't what I thought it was, and to have that institution, so many things that formed my persona crumble, and then my persona crumble, and then have the shamanic initiation into authenticity and who I really am. So honor when it's scary to let go of what we once knew and we're transforming. Truly honor that. Obviously, it's like the best thing to ever happen, but sometimes I didn't have hippie parents. I was in their programming and in their religion and their this. So I didn't, I blocked out any sort of alien encounters. That's for another time. Point being, that was hard for that to crumble. That medicine is going to help it crumble, but we stick through it. If we're more emotionally attached, like I just said, it might be a little bit more difficult because we're attached to an old way of life, right? But then what happens? Well, we go through it. Now we open up the infinite timelines and the possibilities of the very exciting future of what happens when we let go of something. Okay. So when you see a bat, just think, okay, am I avoiding facing something that I've been afraid of, that I've suppressed? Maybe I'm avoiding facing something that's inevitable. So does that go to where you're working right now? Does it go to your personal relationships? What's shifting? If you're, what's shifting in your life when you see bat medicine? What do you want to shift? What are you afraid to shift? That's what you want to look at. Like, how cool are bats? You're going to think of bats completely different now. So shorthand, what are we going to remember? Bats, we're going to face our fears. We're going to be super aware and pay attention to what we are thinking about when we either see a bat in real life, on TV, Halloween decor, you name it. Pay attention, okay? Because you know what? Remember this. The fears we suppress and hold on to. And the more it kind of like incubates in us, the fear gets worse than doing the thing, which is facing your fears. That's actually easy, right? So what are you fearing right now? Go back to what I said to do the first week of October. What am I fearing? And am I ready to face it? Because I'm going to tell you, you are ready to face it. You are. Yeah. You're doing it. You're working through this Chiron in retrograde. You're going in, you're embracing Scorpio season energy. You're embracing the animal totem. The tourmaline's going to support you. Aren't you guys kind of excited now to face your fears? I'm pretty excited to I guess face mine, because if you have fears to face, that means you're alive and got some stuff to do, right? So, hey, that's a good thing. A little bit of Sagittarius optimism and perspective. So let me have a drink from the ghost and then we'll continue. Okay. I noticed on one of my videos, I took a sip of my tea that was hot, made the most like unattractive sound ever. I'm not one of those ASMR girlies. I'm sorry. I'm not going to tap on the crystals with my nails and make it sound pretty, or not aggressively sip my tea. But with that said, I want you to remember the importance of initiation. That's what seeing a bat, like I said, represents. Bring in ritual to that energy as well, right? And also know the initiation is for new beginnings. It's for those promises of the future and excitement and the new timelines, but also like the power that we get from doing the inner work, from the shadow work, who we become. Like that's what it's about. That's why October's pretty rad, you know? I'm going to say it. Sorry, the SoCal comes through. It's pretty rad because we've got so much to look at, so much to feel and interact with. And you know what? It kind of is fun when you got Halloween stuff everywhere, when you've got bats everywhere reminding you of how much power is available to us. And you know, maybe you have your pumpkin spice latte and you take a minute to reflect on those fears, you get warm and cozy, and you work through them. So just a few more things that I want to mention here before we wrap up. I actually, you know, I feel like I've kind of like, so I have a little list I made about bats that I want to get into for a second, but I actually got so excited talking about bats that I think I already said everything. So bat list, had a little bat sticky note here. I wanted to share something else about, oh, I remember. What tarot card does the bat remind you of? It's the Hangman. Go feel into the Hangman. You know, when the bat's hanging upside down, well, that's going to bring discernment. We talked about bats representing discernment. Yeah. Powerful, right? Bat energy, you're going to notice it in your readings. You are going to notice it everywhere, right? I think I want to wrap up by pointing out something amazing that Irma just said in the chat here. Yeah, we're really going to goth it up this October. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss or not in these videos. I mean, obviously I'm allowed to. I'm a free sovereign being here, but we're just going to shamanically goth the shit out of this month. That's what we're going to do. We're going to heal the shit out of this month. We are going to embrace bat energy. We are going to embrace the new cycles we are entering through. Thank you for what you mentioned here, Chris. Yeah, best wishes to everyone. Really working through all the fears, right? We can come to Earth, not awaken, numb ourselves out, and just keep getting recycled. Or we can awaken, look at our fears, transmute it all, meet for these energetic updates, share our progress together. Before I wrap up, I want to wish you guys such a beautiful and transformative October. Now, we are going to take some questions, but I do want to mention early bird registration is open for me and Sarah's alchemy retreat in Sedona. So this is our winter retreat. Talking's hard, guys. It will be in January. Sedona in January is already magical in itself. But when we get Snowdona and you see the snow on those red rocks, it's a completely different experience here. So if you are interested, I will post a link here on YouTube. You can see it on my Instagram stories. We're open. We are ready for our next big retreat. So with that said, do any of you guys have any questions for me? Whether you want to talk about bats more, black tourmaline. I mean, isn't it pretty beautiful how the bats and the tourmaline really work together in this update? Also know eclipse cycles. We're not entering these eclipses with any fear. That's what I wanted to also mention here too. That's why it's so significant really to talk about the entering and the beginning of those new cycles by just transmitting those fears. New cycles are definitely associated too with the rebirth theme we talked about, right? But also the shamanic initiation. So if you feel like you are moving into a more shamanic part of your life, it's going to happen very much organically here. Shamanic meaning of a praying mantis visit. Well, a praying mantis is an extremely powerful animal totem because they're aliens. So that is a hyperdimensional visit, my friend. So I would say it is not only a reminder of your higher dimensional self, it is a reminder for you to, I'm just going to tune in and read, to definitely connect with your psychic gifts, your intuition, but also higher dimensional you with your star family. Go deeper into astral work for sure. Absolute alien. A lot of people see praying mantises, sisses on certain psychedelic journeys. I know that's a big thing to come up. So if it's revealed itself to you, that is a huge reminder of your ability to connect with multidimensional beings for sure. Animal totems are so important, and I'm going to develop just like an entire video on it. It's a direct message, really, from your higher self. So it's very important to pay attention, especially when you get the repeated totem. So I've had, my spirit baby Bane show up to me as white butterflies since June, and that's been a great, very healing thing for me to see. Let's see some of these. Do you have any personal way of working with the crystal and the totem, or we just channel the shaman within us? Ooh, I like this. Oh, I mean, listen, always channel the shaman within you. I want you to work with the tourmaline in the way of how you're going to process fear. So you definitely want to meditate with it. If you don't really know what, maybe you're just not in that state, or you don't know, hey, I don't know what I want to process or think about yet. Have it in your hand for at least 5 minutes. Journal with it. See what it stimulates within you. Hold it, work with it when you're doing crazy stuff, when that may be too vague, when you're doing stressful things. Definitely grid with it, work with it for your energetic protection. Have this around any form of electronic anything. So I always keep this piece particularly too by my laptop when I'm working, but also you can bring in the bat and the tourmaline for any rituals this month and any ancestral altars too, because the energy of this is honoring life and death, dark and light, balance, balancing those two forces too. And so with the animal totem, you can, this is something I've done before with a personal totem that came to me in a healing session, where my spirit guide is an Arctic fox, and they're good for moving through realms and camouflage, and they can really work through so many scenarios. And so I have pictures of Arctic foxes on my walls to get the energetic support too. And they're beautiful. They look like cute little dogs. Arctic fox is a massive one for me. I mentioned the butterfly has now shown up, and we pull motivation, inspiration, and power from having this in front of us as well too. Let me see here. And I did mention putting these things within your altars. Really work with it this month. I have a sense you're going to really be you're going to really like working with these energies and probably pull it into the next few months, which is really good. Okay, I want to talk about grids for a second. Tourmaline, selenite, shungite, smoky quartz. I would combine those and make some sort of grid. So if you want to put these all in like the corner of your space, do that. your main grid or sigil that you use for psychic energetic protection, don't take a picture of it and put it online. Just want to say that. You don't need other people looking at it and sending energy into it. You'll still be protected, but keep it sacred. I don't share my gridded out bedroom because I don't want any energies looking at it. It's my space. So I just want to recommend that for anyone who had a question about that and why some of the things I share and some I don't, because I got to keep my energy for the purposes that I use crystals for as well. So and it's not done out of fear. Oh, I should have mentioned this. You're gridding, you're working with tourmaline. We're not coming at it with the frequency of fear. We know that. We know our vibration, our frequency is what ultimately protects us because we do have everything we need within. These are tools. That's how we use them. Okay. Any other questions for me before we wrap up? I know this is a little bit longer than usual, but like I said, we had a lot to get through and I did a very good job of keeping on track. And that's what I'm telling my inner child. So anything else? I have a bunch of skulls behind me, by the way. I have massive ones. Those are more related to higher consciousness. And so not so much Halloween, but I held back here with the decor. Let's see here. Gray moths. Ooh, I love gray moths. I mean, moths, butterflies, they bring upon a transformation energy. They're very much representatives of spirit. I'm getting gray moth spirit guide energy in this question. Maybe because I'm tuning into your cycle's energy. Yeah, that's an important guide. Yeah, that's a great totem. They bring messages. So if you see a gray moth and you have you're working through something and you have a question about something, that's gonna kind of point you to where you need to go. There's a personal message there too, directly from spirit. I know when I see white butterflies, I feel my direct spirit connections with what that represents to me. So, ooh, kangaroos. It is very Sagittarius. You guys, I saw the most violent kangaroo video ever. I don't want to bring down the vibe, get out your tourmaline, but I saw a man have to rescue his dog from a kangaroo in a lake. It's very traumatic. I've also seen really funny videos of kangaroos, but also a lot of violent ones. Man, they could punch. But besides that, now that I put that out there, I'm joking. I love kangaroos. So very Sagittarius animals. Yeah, you know what? Kangaroos have got this sort of like trickster energy to them. They're so they're so mothering, with their babies, and they're so protective. Uh, I think when you see kangaroo, there's a fierceness in you, and when I mean fierce, I mean power to protect the self, protect the boundaries, protect what we love and care about, but also bring in the feminine energy of nurturing and softness and receptivity. So there's almost like an integrated, we can call it more of like an androgynous energy to kangaroos. So let's see. My guys are in majority animals. Yes, yes, fairy people. Yeah, they are great fighters. Yeah. I just saw that kangaroo video this morning and it kind of shook me up. I'm not going to lie. I try not to be online the day of an energy update. I don't like impressions and I just want to focus, but man, that was an intense video. Okay, wolf and deer. So wolf, I was going to bring in snake, bear, wolf, bat, was I going to mention butterflies, something like that, because of how important they are. I'm not surprised that you guys have really taken to animal totems and we brought it into this conversation, because usually people aligned with the type of energy work that I do are on that shamanic initiated path too. Wolf is extremely, extremely powerful, connected, but still independent, still a leader, psychic. Same kind of fierceness, but lots of intention, lots of purpose. So that's another one too. I'm very excited by your response to the animal totems here. And just know that's what we're bringing in moving forward, along with a more developed animal totem video, which will be my more traditional style of video. So, you guys, I'm going to use this opportunity to wrap up. I want to thank you for your energy and for your attention during this live. It is so great to see so many of you that I know, whether it's from the alchemy retreats, from some new names I saw today, from my personal healing sessions. I am so grateful for your energy and for what you brought. And I'm also really excited for this month, not just for, what we presented today, but just for you as your energies. I'm very aware of energy. As you know, that's what I do for a living. And so the beautiful energy that you guys brought today and who you are, I'm just wishing you such a beautiful, strong, powerful, transformative October. But also remember, there's fear, but there's also love. So whatever you're working through, you're going to be on the other side of it. Always feeling that the highest frequency of love. It's always within you. It's always in your heart centers. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Enjoy spooky season. Go get a hipster pumpkin spice latte. I've been making a lot of mine on my own. I'm going to put that information in my stories. You guys, I'm wishing you all the best. I will see you for magical November. That's what November is. Remember, we've got 11/11 coming up and so much more. So big, big love. And I hope you guys have a beautiful evening.